The machine gun. It changed warfare forever, single-handedly ending the movement of large formations of men and cavalry that so characterized past European wars. In the First World War's opening Battle of the Marne, hundreds of thousands of Allied and Central Power soldiers were cut down by it. To avoid the machine gun's deadly rain, the armies dig trenches deep into the earth. Stalemate ensues, and so for several years trench warfare rages in Europe, with no side able to gain the advantage, and success sometimes measured by the gain of mere yards of territory. Millions of men are killed and wounded. The trauma of this experience will topple leaders, governments, and countries. Both sides work to find a new way to victory. Between 1914 and 1917, they fail.
After the failure of the Schlieffen Plan at the Marne in 1914, Germany was faced with what it feared the most, a two-front war. German Field Marshal Helmuth von Moltke was replaced by Erich von Falkenhayn, who again tried to outflank the Allies to the north in the fall and winter of 1914. Sir John French's British and General Joffre's French forces met them in the Flanders region of Belgium, and hundreds of thousands more became casualties of the machine gun and concentrated artillery. The armies began to dig trenches. By the end of 1914, the Western Front became a 400-mile-long system of opposing trenches and barbed wire between Belgium and Switzerland. In between the opposing trench systems was an area that every infantryman soon called no man's land. The fighting in Flanders convinced German General Falkenhayn the war could not be won. Strategy and tactics had not evolved at the rate of mechanical invention. Neither side had the capability to overcome the new reality of the battlefield. Falkenhayn believed only diplomacy could bring peace, and decided the only strategy to follow was attrition. Believing the Western Front was the key to victory, and that the Allies had to win there to win the war, Falkenhayn invested in making Germany's trench system strong and impenetrable, a bastion upon which the Allies would throw themselves and bleed their countries white. Germany's leadership, however, was not united behind the beliefs of Falkenhayn. In the East, Germany's powerful team of Field Marshal Paul von Hindenburg and General Erich von Ludendorff believed that indeed the war could be won. But first, Russia had to be knocked out of the war. Though of different mind, like Falkenhayn, they too believed that Germany must hold the West with limited resources, while it used its might to rapidly wipe out the Russians in the East. Therefore, they also encouraged the fortification mentality on the Western Front. Victory in the East, however, was as elusive as it was in the West. Russia was more than willing to launch massive offensives when unprepared, just to take the pressure off their Western allies. Germany also wasted considerable resources, having to repeatedly rescue Austria-Hungary's armies from the blunders of their commander, Conrad von Hötzendorf. As in the West, neither side could gain the decisive victory that was sought. By the end of 1917, however, Russia's severe losses led to revolution and the abdication of Tsar Nicholas II. The opening battles of 1914 left the British and French leaders and their governments badly shaken, and looking for new ideas as well. They were looking for new strategies to overcome the siege warfare of the trenches that was evolving on the Western Front. New allies and new battlefields on the periphery of the Central Powers were sought out. With promises of land and spoils, in the spring of 1915, Italy joined the Allies against its former partners of the Triple Alliance. A new front opened south of the Alps, and Italian General Luigi Cadorna embarked on the first of many campaigns in the Isonzo River area between Italy and Austria. In April 1915, the Allies landed at Gallipoli in the Dardanelles, hoping to find quick victory against the Central Powers' ally, the Ottoman Turks. Both efforts failed. As the stalemate continued on the Western Front, any method that could bring victory became fair game. Both sides turned to chemical weapons in an effort to gain the upper hand. In April 1915, chlorine gas made its first appearance in the Ypres section of Belgium. Phosgene and mustard gas followed in the ensuing years, each more deadly than its predecessor. each dependent on one factor for success or failure: the direction of the wind. Following horrific losses, the gas mask became the most important companion of the frontline soldier. Allied generals like Britain's Sir Douglas Haig, who succeeded a stymied Sir John French in October 1915, believed the way to win the trench war was to punch a hole in the enemy lines with weeks of artillery and gas bombardment, and then send the infantry and cavalry through the lines to outflank the enemy and end the war. Artillery output increased from thousands of shells to millions of shells per offensive. All it did was make the Germans dig deeper trenches and create a landscape reminiscent of the moon. It was a strategy that Haig pursued time and again, though artillery always failed to kill the German defenders, eliminated the element of surprise by alerting the enemy to the coming attack, and created a cratered battlefield no one could move on. To the infantrymen, trench warfare was a nightmare. Bunkers, dugouts, communication trenches, barbed wire, pillboxes, snipers, machine guns, flamethrowers, hand grenades, gas masks, raiding parties, mines, night watch, rats, lice, disease, rain, mud. They all became the world of the common soldier. Boredom and terror, fear and bravery, thoughts of home and food, death, it was all around them. Their suffering was supreme. Ypres, Neuve-Chapelle, and Luz in 1915, Verdun and the Somme in 1916, Arras, Passchendaele, and Caporetto in 1917. Each battle on the Western Front lasted for months, led to no decision, and was basically a massacre. Failure on the battlefield in 1916 led to Falkenhayn's replacement by Hindenburg and Ludendorff in Germany that August, the removal of Francis Joffre for General Robert Nivelle, and the fall of British Prime Minister Asquith's government in December. Failure on the battlefield in 1917 led the French to replace Nivelle with General Henri Pétain in March, and the sacking of Italy's General Luigi Cadorna for Armando Diaz in November. Most importantly, the year ended with Vladimir Lenin's Bolshevik Revolution in Russia and that nation's subsequent withdrawal from the war.
After 3 years of trench warfare and turmoil, both the Allies and Central Powers believed that new situations and innovations will lead to victory in 1918. For the Allies, America's entrance into the war promises an endless stream of men and supplies. A new piece of technology, the tank, proven at the Battle of Cambrai in November 1917, also seems to spell the end of trench warfare. For Germany, Russia's exit from the war means the end of a draining two-front war. As they focus the strength of the German army on the Western Front, Hindenburg and Ludendorff believe they can win the war before American troops can make a difference. For both sides, 1918 appears a decisive year. The year victory will be claimed.